Hi there, I'm Marty Owings. Thanks for stopping by today as we take a look at this brand new 100% cotton sketchbook from Hahnemühle. This is a 250 gram, 120 pound cold press, 100% vegan paper sketchbook that's been long awaited, long anticipated on the market. And finally, we have an additional serious player in the market of 100% cotton sketchbooks. Long asked for, long requested by many, many sketchers, and it's finally here. I have a very early advanced copy here that I'm going to take a look at through the generosity of the folks at Hahnemühle, and we'll go through all the details. This is a thread-bound, age-resistant, highly light-fast sketchbook. The paper is made in Germany. It comes in a number of different formats, including landscape and portrait in a number of different sizes. We'll go into serious detail on all of the pros of this sketchbook today, and maybe one minor con. So as you open up the sketchbook, you'll see that it is bright white, very nicely done, and it's got the 3-stitch binding, 1, 2, 3, along with the glued spine, which you can see here as you look down the spine tunnel there. Very well put together. It's approximately 8.5 by 6, although the paper size inside the book is slightly smaller than that. But a great binding, great cover, jet black, easy to carry around. It's got that rubber binder there. And if you open it up, it's got a pretty nice feature in that you can paint in panoramic mode, obviously the same as other sketchbooks, but the paper, you can actually feel the difference. And this sketchbook does something pretty good, and most great sketchbooks do this. It lays flat. All right, and here is the Academy sketchbook, same sketchbook company, Hahnemühle. They've been making paper for 500 years, so they really know what they're doing. This is an alpha cellulose sketchbook. It's acid-free, pH neutral, and it's a sketchbook that I have used for years, taken this everywhere. This is one that I took in the field last year to the Dakotas to sketch, and this sketchbook went through a lot: rain, mud, cold temperatures, everything you can imagine. Now, when I closely inspected the difference in the papers, one thing immediately came to mind, and that's the similarity. They're both cold press, which gives you kind of a semi-rough surface, but not really. It's got a little bit of a tooth to it, but it's not bad at all. But the thing I noticed, and I kind of want to speculate on this a little bit, I think these are made on the same machine. I think both of these papers are made on the Fourdrinier in Dassel, Germany. That obviously they have a more modern Fourdrinier than this one pictured here, but I believe that they're made on the same machine, both of those sketchbooks, with a different paper recipe. I just wanted you to hear that sound because that's a little bit of the fact that I've got a very early copy, a very advanced copy of this sketchbook, and not all of the details of manufacturing are worked out. So that little tearing sound, that was just the bookbinder maybe being a little overzealous with the glue on the binding. Now this is an Etcher sketchbook that I did about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And one thing that happened to this sketchbook was it began to fall apart. And it has a pretty bad design flaw in that both the front and back piece papers are glued about 1/4 inch. You can see on this side where it hasn't come apart, you can see that 1/4 inch glue there. And that is basically what's holding those pages together. And then the binding, that's kind of the fulcrum by which that binding is hanging on. So that is a flaw in the design of the Etcher sketchbook, which I've reviewed before, talked about a little bit, but
I was just pretty disappointed that it came apart, and hopefully the competition will help Etcher improve their construction.
But it is definitely not up to the quality of the Hahnemühle bindings. Now we'll take a close look here at both the 100% cotton sketchbook, which is new, and the Academy here, and the binding very similar. They're probably using the same binder that they've used for their Academy books and their other books, their Nostalgia brand and others, but it's really nice binding, and you can see the seams here. There really is no issue.
Now, most sketchbooks that aren't very rigid are going to have a little bit of flex like this, the back and forth lateral movement. We'll get into the science and comparison of the papers here in a minute. First, I'll talk a little bit about the papers inside of this 100% cotton sketchbook from Hahnemühle. It is neutrally sized and acid-free, and it has a pH value between 7.5 and 9.5. And that means that it's basically buffered with both the internal recipe of the paper maker and the sizing that takes place. And we'll talk about that sizing in a minute. That's not dimensional sizing, like how big the paper is or how wide it is in inches or anything like that. Sizing in paper making is referred to as the ingredients that go into the paper and how it's treated. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. The fact that these are age resistant and 100% cotton rag sketchbooks is pretty amazing when you think about what it takes to get that science right, get the balance right, and still keep the paper bright and vibrant and usable for the artist. So when you're using this paper, you're going to see crisp lines. Your watercolor is going to perform better on a higher quality paper. That's why so many sketchbook artists and watercolorists want to work with 100% cotton rag paper. And that's why it's important to remember that. Although that's a very popular paper to sketch on and it performs very well, it can be a little bit more expensive because more goes into making it. When you talk about the quality of paper, you first have to start with the raw material. For Hahnemühle, that starts with sourcing the best possible cotton and then coming up with a great chemical mixture, which is the paper maker's secret recipe. We don't know what that is, but let's say we see the direct results in high quality, high performing, excellent paper. The paper maker's recipes generally consist of several different kinds of papers. The 100% cotton rag paper, which will be more expensive because it costs more to make. Then you've got the 50-50 cotton cellulose papers, which are less expensive, but if they're pH balanced and acid free, tend to be good papers. Then you've got the 25% cotton, 75% cellulose paper, which is even more inexpensive, and those tend to be they'll hold up less over time. And then finally, wood pulp paper, which is kind of like the lowest grade of paper you can get, which it'd be like newspaper in the end. So a paper maker's recipe is important to the quality of the paper and its performance when you put it into use. At some point in most people's artistic journey, they figure out that they want to use higher quality materials. Now, that won't necessarily translate into better art necessarily, but it certainly doesn't hurt. And when I think about the money I invest in art materials, I always like to think about the old adage that you get what you pay for. Quality is never cheap, and cheap is never quality. So in that regard, you can look at older materials, the way they were made and manufactured and how they stood up over time. And maybe some of those older books, those 500 and 600-year-old books, were made by hand, but a lot of quality and a lot of investment in that quality went into those things. They were the durable things meant to last. They were meant to hold up over time. So whether you're using pencil, pen, ink, watercolor, acrylic, oil, whatever you're using, whatever medium you're using, you want the surface that you're going to apply that medium to be good and high quality. Now, the other part about creating good sketchbooks is the binding, and binding is its own art. We could spend a whole hour on that, so I won't belabor the point, but to say that Hahnemühle does stitched and glued binding here. I believe that they don't actually bind the sketchbooks in-house at Dassel in Dassel, Germany, but maybe they outsource the binding to a decent company outside of Europe. I know that my experiences with the sketchbooks have been very good. As I said, they hold up well. They're very durable. I like the black cover on the new sketchbooks. It kind of differentiates it a little bit. With Hahnemühle's introduction of this 100% cotton sketchbook, it leaves basically two major players in the market now. And the other major player is Etcher. And I mentioned them a little bit earlier, but now I think it's important we do just a little bit of a comparison between these two sketchbooks. So I think it's only fair that we compare the Hahnemühle to the Signature series or the higher end sketchbook that Etcher offers, because that's really the more fair comparison. The other lower end sketchbooks, I think that the paper for that is sourced in China, whereas this one, this Signature sketchbook, the paper is sourced in Italy by a company called Fabriano, who has been around a long time as well.
very venerable paper maker. And you can see here's the kind of differences between the various sketchbook offerings that Etcher has, and I'll let you go to the website and research that on your own, but basically to say they have a variety of different sketchbooks in different quality. All right, well, how do these two great sketchbooks stack up against each other? Well, the Etcher right now comes in both a cold and a hot press in the Signature series, whereas the Hahnemühle is just rolling out to the market, so they've only got the cold press available. Also, Hahnemühle's paper is going to be slightly lighter at 120 pounds, whereas you're getting 140-pound paper with the Etcher book. All of the paper that Hahnemühle has in its sketchbooks is made in Dassel, Germany. They make their own paper, whereas Etcher sources the paper from Italy by Fabriano, and it's an Artistico paper. They're both 100% cotton, and they're both pH balanced, which is awesome. You're going to get a few more pages in the Hahnemühle sketchbook than you do in the Etcher sketchbook. Hahnemühle says they're 100% vegan, whilst Etcher says they're vegan friendly. I'm not sure what vegan friendly is, but I wish they'd be clearer about that. They're both acid free, and like I said, they're pH balanced, which is great. One is hardbound in a fabric cover, that's the Hahnemühle, and the other is the faux leather cover that Etcher has in their Signature series. You're going to spend a little bit more on the Etcher sketchbook at $75 US, but you're getting a slightly larger size if you look at the B4 compared to the A4. So who wins in the side-to-side matchup of these two great sketchbooks? Well, I think you win. The consumer wins, because finally we have another choice on the market by a very respectable, very good quality company in Hahnemühle. Which brings me to some fantastic news from Wet Paint. I was on the phone the other day talking to one of the co-owners, Scott, over there, and he said, hey, Marty, we've got plenty of stock. We're one of the only shops in the country that have stock of the Hahnemühle sketchbook, the new 100% cotton sketchbook, and boy, have we got a sale going on right now to introduce people to this sketchbook. So it's 30% off through the end of April. So future people, if you missed the sale, I'm sorry, but it ends end of April 2022. Normally $32.65 for that A5 size form factor, on sale for just $22, about $23 US. So get over to Wet Paint. Go online. If it says they're sold out, order them anyway, because they're getting stock in daily. And please don't forget to tell them that I sent you. The people at Wet Paint are super awesome. Here's a little clip to highlight
I'm
that.
gonna just do a little video here. Look at these guys. This is the pencil they created. Look at this. Justin, you painted that wood grain, simulated wood grain trim?
Yes.
So it reminds you of like Dad's old station wagon from the...
Totally. Yeah, the wood paneled station wagon.
Yeah. You guys did great. Rebecca, you did the words, right?
Yeah, I did the whole pencil.
Wow. Well, you guys even nailed the reflective stuff at the top there. Yeah, look.
Just the inspiration.
Well, you got to hold the real thing. Look at you guys. All right. Well, there's actual size. And then here's the enlarged version. And here's Justin. Yeah, I like it. Good job, guys.
And if you ever wonder what they look like, this is Scott and this is Darren. Those are great guys. So get over there and pick up your brand new Hahnemühle 100% cotton sketchbook in a variety of sizes, and I think you will not be disappointed whatsoever. These are great sketchbooks, and it's wonderful to finally see these on the market. Well, this has been a pretty good look at the Hahnemühle 100% cotton sketchbook that just hit the market. Don't forget to pop over to wetpaintart.com, order yours today, or pop into the store if you're local. They're in St. Paul, Minnesota, and don't forget to tell them I sent you. And for the good folks at Hahnemühle, thanks for sending me over a sketchbook to try out. I really enjoyed it. You make an excellent product. You're great representatives for your company. Thanks so much. Just a quick word on my friend Steve Mitchell over at The Mind of Watercolor. He'll be producing a video very soon on this exact same sketchbook, and Steve and I will compare notes at some point. And if you'll notice there, Steve is sitting on 299,000 subscribers. If we could get him a few more for the 300,000 mark, although he might already have that, let's go over there and give him a boost. Thanks everybody for stopping by. This has been Marty Owings for owingsart.com.